find your passion, it ignites you as a person. You just feel awesome. Hello, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Crystal. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 5 years. I've had some MMA fights. If you are coming back, hey, welcome back. If you haven't watched more than one video and you haven't subscribed, stop being weird. The internet wants to know, can a female use jiu-jitsu to beat a male? When I did some research on guys talking about this, it seems like not many dudes want to show themselves as a white belt coming in and going up against a female blue belt for the first time, which, you know, I can relate. When I first started and I was a white belt, I went up against a 16-year-old that had been training for years, and who likes to admit getting owned by like a preteen? Nick Diaz, when he first started as a young teenager, he had this realization. He's sitting there at his friend's house looking at his friend's dad being like, holy crap, I could beat up your dad. So yes, those of you who train know it's a matter of skill level. You have other attributes too that help. And skill level, I mean, if you're coming in off the street, right, and you have zero skill and you're going up against people on the mat with skill, you are going to get your ass beat for a little bit before things start working. Okay, like don't think you can take like a class of jiu-jitsu and all of a sudden you're just going to be going like Jackie Chan on the mats, because everybody on the mats has skill. And that's one thing that I had to realize, like my Ronda Rousey fantasy went right out the window. And this is true no matter like what gender you are. Like if a dude walks in off the street, has never had any fight skill, like including wrestling, any type of grappling skill, chances are like this is also going to happen to that dude. It's just facts. Okay, so it seems like you like watching me go up against white belts. So here's another round of me going up against a white belt. So here you see I have 5 years. I think he has a year. I think he probably has like 20 pounds on me, maybe 30. So here's experience versus size. Let's make this bigger so you can see what's going on. All right, here we go. We are fighting for hand grips. For all of my beginners out there who are, some of my BJJ sisters were asking me about this. They were like, okay, I've been trying to do takedowns and my takedowns haven't been working. So look at the hand grips that I'm using against him, and it's called a collar tie. Of course, this is no-gi, but the same physical principles, like the principles of physics, apply to a traditional gi grip. So like a collar and sleeve. So we're fighting for hand grip positioning. I go in for a single leg. Do you see how he sprawls? Like that's intelligent defense. Nice. So that's intelligent defense. So this isn't just like a day one white belt. This is, you know, going up against a white belt with some skill. So he tries to sprawl that leg back to break the grip. And I'm thinking running the pipe, but I know it's not gonna work, so I just switch to a double leg, outside trip, which I love combining the takedowns together. Now I have top side control. And he tries to escape. But I have most of my weight up by his head. And then I do a cut across to mount. And my mount, and then I go for a submission, a Kimura submission. So that's attacking the shoulder joint. So you pin the arm down. weight to one side, that way they can't bridge and roll. And you dismantle a joint all in the day's work. Going for a double, having a little sweep off the double, and I get top position again, and again go to cut across. And you know, the moral of the story is, like, I consistently could take him down. There are 4 parts to, you know, a fight, right? You have to take them down, you have to pass their legs, you have to get on top and sustain that position, and then you go for a choke, or you break one of their arms or dismantle their shoulder. The nice thing about Jiu-Jitsu is the chokes. If you're unaware of this, the chokes, if you leave them on after they go out, you can kill a person. So you have the ability to control the situation, any type of dangerous situation you're in, by making them unconscious, or, you know, point blank ending it, depending on the self-defense level situation that you're in. Here I am doing the same thing. I was really working on Kimuras that session. So that's another tap. Go in for a snap down, and I think you get the point. Like, this was like, how many white belts do I have to beat to, like, for people to get the hint? I don't know. Right. So what I'll do is I will put the whole video of our round. This is another round that we did together. I'll put that at the end of this video for those of you that like to watch that. Maybe I'll put like some music or whatever to it. But the point that I'm trying to make is, if you are thinking about Jiu-Jitsu or you're in Jiu-Jitsu, I just want you to know that it is technical skill level. And if you are a smaller person, definitely pay attention to the tiny details in each technique that make the technique work. If you have explosive strength, you can just explode through pretty much anything and have shitty technique and not even be aware of it, because you can overcompensate with strength. But if you don't have that explosive strength, then you have to compensate. Like, that's what I did, is I paid so much attention to like the little tiny details of like positioning. You know, like one huge tip is, if you are a smaller person, I'm not even gonna say I'm male or female, because like it's for everybody. There's small dudes too, you know what I'm saying? But if you are a smaller person and you're trying to maintain a dominant position, know that space is not your friend. So they are trying to make space on the bottom, and you are trying to eliminate space. And then, of course, knowing how to transition between all of your different mounts is like super helpful. Yeah, so those are just some tips. And if you are training right now, keep on going. You know, you're doing great. The first years are the toughest, because you are coming up, you're getting beat a lot. The thing about Jiu-Jitsu is that there's no room for complacency. And I just learned this the other day. Like, I always thought complacency meant not doing much and being on the same level and feeling crappy about it, being like, oh man, like, but complacency is actually not doing anything and feeling good about it. And in Jiu-Jitsu, you know, I don't know anybody who's ever gonna feel good about getting their ass beat on the mat. Like, Jiu-Jitsu is very raw in the fact, like, it will tell you exactly where you're at. And as a white belt, it can be tough, because you are trying to come up, you're getting beat up every single day on the mat. And I have a couple of videos for you about how to get over Jiu-Jitsu frustration. I also have another really useful video about Jiu-Jitsu memory and how to start memorizing techniques. And all the videos that I have on here are problems and issues that either my viewers have have experienced, or I've personally experienced, because this is probably the toughest journey that I've ever been on. And now that I'm, 5 years later as a blue belt, things get easier because you have white belts that you can then practice your moves on, and not every roll is like rolling to the death, because then you can conserve your energy and have the results of what you want to have happen, but using less effort, which is nice. You don't have that crazy white belt energy anymore. Yeah, and one more thing too, here's another little golden tip for the people that do jiu-jitsu and white belt energy. So basically, when you are a white belt, you have this crazy white belt energy because your brain thinks that everybody's coming for you and that people are really trying to murder you. I mean, they technically are, but they're gonna stop when you tap. But your brain doesn't know that. It just feels like, oh my God, I'm in a fight. So when I roll with white belts, I noticed, especially when I was rolling with white belts as a blue belt, this was probably like a year ago, when I was rolling with white belts that were like bigger and stronger than me and had a lot of that white belt energy of like heavy breathing and just over gripping everything, I noticed that afterwards I felt like really, really burnt out. So what I did to combat this is, I remember one roll, I was thinking to myself, okay, during this roll, like I am going to use the least amount of energy as possible, and I'm going to see what I can do with that. And what I noticed is, I remember he was on his back, I was inside his guard, and he was just over gripping my arms, and my body just naturally responded with almost like the same type of energy. And I found myself over gripping his hips and pinning them down. I'm like, wait a minute, why am I gripping so hard? So I just like kind of released the grip, and I was like, wow, I am able to control his hips with little to no energy compared to what I was using before. And when I had this realization, I was like, okay, let me test this out. So rolling with white belt energy, if you feel like you're completely burnt out after, especially as like a smaller person on the mats, one thing that you can do is just consciously try to see how little energy you can use and test it out, and you'll be shocked. All right, until next time, bye.